The marathon can be brutal. You train for weeks just for one race, and if the stars align, you end up on cloud 9. But if they don't, then your mile split graph might look a little bit like this. There are plenty of reasons as to why this might be the case, so today I want to dive into what they could be and guide you through some tips on how to try and prevent this from happening the next time you tackle the marathon distance. Oh, and don't worry, you're in good company. Those screenshots are from my previous marathon, so let's get straight into this. Number 1, the weather. Something I just have to throw in there very quickly. This you cannot control. Sadly, it's a very valid factor as to why this can happen in a marathon. You can train for weeks, as I said, and then you turn up on the day, the weather's either scorching hot, you got a storm. Trust me, I've run in stormy conditions, very, very windy conditions, scorching heat. It is an absolute nightmare. You can only control the controllables in this situation, so allow yourself to process that frustration, move on, and remember that one was not your fault. Number 2, now for the preventables, fueling, specifically in race fueling. There's been enough studies now and recommended data out there for a lot of us to go by, which is pretty much 60 grams of carbs per hour, but I think a lot of us already are realizing that we need a little bit more than that, especially the fact that we are all individual. I have to look at myself and appreciate that I'm a lot bigger than other runners, and therefore I'm going to need more fuel. But I think as a baseline, we should all be looking in and around that 60 grams of carbs per hour, if not more than that. This is something that I personally have struggled with massively, and I know that frustration of getting into the shape of your life, feeling absolutely incredible, feeling like you could go out there and smash a PB, and then on the day, if your fueling doesn't go right, everything can just crumble around you. But thankfully, this one is really easily preventable, and that is to practice your fueling in training. So for me, again, just sharing a story as to why it might help you. I used to use Morton gels quite a bit. I found that they were okay for the first few gels, but after gel number 4, I would just feel really, really sick. So for me, I've just stopped persisting with that brand of gel now, and I'm exploring other gels. And already in my long runs right now, ready for my autumn marathon, wherever and whenever that might be, I'm already taking on more carbs in my long runs now through other brands of gels. In particular right now, the one I'm using is Precision Fuel and Hydration. Not sponsored, I'm purchasing them all with my own money. But again, I'm getting over 110 grams in just an hour and a half, just loading up my body, practicing how it feels to take on a decent volume of fuel. And I've got to be honest with you, it feels really good. My recommendations for you guys, if you have just come off a spring marathon, is to get practicing now. I know a lot of us like to switch gears, in particular myself as well. We love to drop down to those shorter distances, but it doesn't hurt to be trying new gels right now just to see what sits in your stomach. Take them out on maybe your easier long runs or your slightly longer runs of the week. See what you're able to stomach and just get testing, because what that means is by the time you start your next marathon training block, you'll have a good idea as to which brands work and which brands don't, and then you can double down on that strategy and just really start to fuel hard as you get through the training block. And the goal realistically is, as a minimum, try and get those 60 grams of carbs in per hour and find the gel that works for you that allows you to do that. And of course, the third thing that could be causing this issue within your marathon performances is bad pre-race preparation. That realistically includes not resting enough and a bad carb load leading up to the race. Now, of course, everyone is different with their carb load, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you need to eat. There's enough information out there. Once again, for me, I saw information from a sports nutritionist. His name is Tom Hollis. He's on Instagram. I went to one of his marathon carb loading sessions where he did a couple of webinars, and it was fantastic just to sit and listen and understand what's really important to get on board during that final week, and in particular those final 4, 3, 2 and 1 days out from the race. Again, we all have different diets. Some of us might have high carb diets, some of us might have low carb diets, so actually one size fits all is not going to work in this situation. It's up to you to start tinkering and practicing with what might work for you, loading on a few more carbs, just getting a bit more energy in the system. Practice it the night before your long run, get a decent dinner and see what makes a difference. It's so crucial to be topped up before you get started on that race day. The fueling, once again, during race day, as we talked about, is one thing, but getting loaded up beforehand and those energy stores right up as far as they can go is so crucial. And of course, within that category, as I mentioned, is your pre-race preparation, your rest and recovery leading up to that. Again, a great example for me where I really fell down last year, as I ended up doing a tour of London before the London Marathon. I ended up walking 14 miles a day before the actual race. It was crazy. I didn't realize I walked too much. It's very easy to get sucked in. I thought I'll only do a few bits and pieces. And again, it is not ideal preparation the day before the race. In that time leading up to the race, try experimenting with literally getting out for your shakeout run and then resting as much as you can. I appreciate, as a family man, and I know a lot of you guys have families out there, it's not easy to stay off your feet, but I think limiting the activities that you do and limiting the amount of walking is really, really crucial in that build-up. Number 4, lack of intensity in your long runs. So this is now going back to training. Have a look back through your training. How were your long runs? Did you put any intensity in your long runs? Do you think about beginner training plans as they approach the marathon? You're a new runner, you've entered the running world, you've done some races, you've trained for your first marathon. What tends to happen in beginner training plans is they'll often go for time on feet, which basically means nice, easy, slow long runs, which is fantastic. You've got to get used to being out there for a longer period of time. But for people that have now done a marathon and are stepping up to maybe their second, third, fourth, and you're looking to advance things a little bit more, then a key here is to start to sprinkle in some long run workouts. Now, I've done plenty of videos on long run workouts. Some of my favorites are best types. There are loads out there. I'm not going to regurgitate that here in this video. What I do want to hammer home is I think what happens when you do some of those long run workouts, you start to get that good conditioning in the legs. Not only are you out there for good time on feet, you're putting a bit of pace change in there, a bit more intensity, you're strengthening up your mind as well as your body. And during marathon training as well, it is honestly one of the best ways to take that fitness to the next level. You're out there for a long period of time, you're able to go through the gears, whatever that long run workout might be. That particular type of run is absolutely invaluable. Now, of course, thanks to social media, it's very easy to go and see people doing a long 16 miles at marathon pace like I like to do, or maybe 4x5k at marathon pace, or 3x10k. Some of these monster long run workouts. I'm not saying that you have to jump in and do stuff like that. You can start with throwing surges into your long run. And when I say surges, I get my athletes to do this. I effectively tell them that you pick the pace up to whatever you feel comfortable on that day. Because some days we feel great, some days we don't feel great. And if you're aiming to try and hit a pace target and you're new to long run workouts, it can be really demoralizing when you're trying to get up to speed in a long run and your legs just aren't playing ball. So surges are a great way to start. And then you can start doing things like K reps, where you're doing K on, K off, in and around marathon effort, and then back to easy jogs. And as you get more advanced, you can float those recoveries, which means you keep it at a steady effort and not drop back to an easy effort pace. And then you can extend those K reps out to maybe 2K reps. And the more advanced you get, of course, you can then start to tackle those longer marathon tempos, 5K reps, 10K reps. That can all wait, but just getting started with some surges and some smaller reps in your long run is going to pay dividends when you rock up to your next marathon. Number 5, lack of quality miles in the week. So again, we've just talked about if your conditioning wasn't particularly great during your long runs, and that might be something you want to address. Now we're looking at that midweek section. What quality miles are you putting in there? Again, a massive myth that I've got to bust, and I think a lot of people mention this, especially for newer runners, is for a marathon you're looking to run for a long period of time, so you don't necessarily need that speed work in your legs. To the contrary, I promise you, it is so important to keep up with that speed work. Everything can feel so long and such a slog if you avoid the speed work, if you keep all your runs easy and steady and then just do long runs without much speed midweek. You are going to find those long runs to be a bit of a slog. What you've got to remember is what you do in the midweek should complement what you do on the weekend. So if you're doing some faster intervals midweek, that's then going to help you extend out your long run. You're running those midweek intervals for a longer period of time than what you would potentially do in your 5K training, and therefore because you're extending those out, it's going to make the long run feel so much easier. Neuromuscularly as well, I think it's really important just to keep that faster turnover in pace. It helps go through the gears. I've showcased in a couple of races recently how important it is to practice those surges and those faster intervals in training, where when you're put in a race situation, you are able to surge, you are able to catch up to the back of the pack, you are able to turn those legs over quickly when you are feeling tired. So I strongly recommend you keep up those midweek quality miles, especially some sessions. Even if it's just the one session in the week, that will be absolutely invaluable to build up alongside that long run, and again, get your body conditioned nicely for the marathon distance. And 6th and finally, dare I say it, lack of consistency in your training in general. I think a lot of us can be really excited that we maybe get into a ballot for a race or we sign up for our first marathon, but we haven't actually established that long-term consistency in our training that will set us up in good stead for marathon training. I think if there's ever a time to be consistent during your running career, it is during marathon training. You can wing a 5K, potentially you can wing a 10K. Half marathon starts to get a bit dicey, but when you get up to that marathon distance, it will find you out if your training has not been consistent. Now, my top tip here, coming from a family man with 3 kids, I appreciate how difficult it can be to find consistency in your running. I appreciate those kids' social activities take precedence over your running. So my top tip is find a day or 2 in the week that you know pretty much you are guaranteed to be able to run. Make those days the quality days you need them to be. Make those the days where you do your long run and maybe you do a good midweek session, and then fill those easy runs in and around those days. Yes, consistency in terms of nice regular days per week running is ideal. I appreciate that's not going to be the case for everyone, but just making sure you can get out the door as much as you possibly can during that 12, 14, 16 week period that you're training for the marathon will again help you when it comes to race day. Lack of consistency, and trust me, you'll be found out very early in that race. Now, of course, we could talk about kit malfunctions, shoe malfunctions, and maybe a few other small bits and pieces, but over the years, these are the elements that I have found for me personally, and speaking to other athletes, what has been the major downfall when it comes to a marathon graph looking as I put on the thumbnail. I definitely put fueling up there with the key weather. I had to throw it in there. It's so important to remember that this is not your fault. Again, I've been there probably in about 3 of my marathons. I've had horrific weather, whether it's burning sun, storms, really bad wind. It's an absolute nightmare, and it's even worse when you rock up in great shape. There's nothing you can do. You've just got to close that chapter and move on. If it comes to fueling, then that is something that you and me in particular need to look at. And in terms of your training, if you need to level it up for your next marathon, then do check out some of those long run workout videos that I've put on the channel, or some of those midweek workout videos as well. And of course, I want to throw the question back out to you guys. Have you had a marathon graph that looks like that? And if you have, what happened on that race day? It'd be great to share your story down in the comments below to see if it's something that I've covered here or something new. It would be fantastic to share that, because I'm sure it will resonate with a lot of other people. And if you are in that in-between stage right now, then check out this video up here. This is how to get yourself into really good aerobic shape, get that conditioning just right for you to layer that marathon work on top when it comes later in the year. Or check out this video down here. This is one of my older videos on some long run workouts I want to share with you. If you're interested in learning a bit more about those, check out that one, and I'll see you guys over there.